Good evening, everyone. I'm Kalila Reynolds, and welcome to the fourth webinar in our Quartz Ready Cash Business Survivor webinar series. I'm your host for this evening's session, and with us is our guest, Michelle Chong, who is the co-founder and CEO of Honey Bun. This evening, she will speak on the topic, Women in Business. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Kalila. Thank you for inviting me.
So great to have you. And we're really excited to be with you this afternoon and you, our viewers, of course, to share some exciting and interesting information. But before we do so, let me ask Michelle to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you know, I'm the CEO of Honeybun, and Honeybun started Honeybun Foundation 2 years ago. So I'm also the founder of the Honeybun Foundation, which supports SMEs in their businesses. And we have a wide range of baked products that are very popular, a household name now. So I don't know. What else
Yes,
do you want to
if you
know?
have a sweet tooth, you would know about Honey Bun, the donuts, the
Yes,
cinnamon rolls.
right.
Yes, you have a wide range of
And our
products there.
newest cinnamon raisin loaf.
Ooh, nice. Okay, I have to check that out. I have a terrible sweet tooth, so yeah. All right, so it is so great to have Michelle on our show as usual, and we are looking forward to a really, really interesting time this evening. Now, recently, Quartz Ready Cash started offering loans to small and micro businesses. It's a carefully designed product that was created for businesses just like yours and mine. I'm also a business owner. And it offers not just a financial solution, but also well needed support that allows small and micro businesses to build capacity and scale up. So, this webinar series is one of the ways that Quartz Ready Cash is connecting with you, the business community, to add value to your operations. Our topic for this evening is certainly one that we know you, especially our women, will see significant value and benefit from. Now, in Jamaica, we have outstanding women in business, such as our guest, Michelle Chong, Thalia Lynn of Island Grill, Doreen Frankson of EdgeChem, Danielle Terrelong of DRT Communications, Nikita Mullings of NM Flash Errand Services, who started a delivery service business in the COVID-19 pandemic, just to name a few. And it seems easy for a woman, right? Sometimes. So today we'll hear from our experienced guest who will share her first-hand experiences and shed some light to help women like myself, like you, who want to scale up our businesses. And what better way to learn than sitting at the feet of the wise, yes, and experienced forerunners who set the pace for young, upcoming entrepreneurs. But before we delve into our conversation with Michelle, let me just share a few heartening facts which I stumbled upon. Maybe disheartening. Let's see. In the report titled Jamaica Gender Lens Entrepreneurship and Investing Report, it's estimated that almost 1/3 of Jamaican women who have a college education or higher have left the country due to lack of opportunities. From 2006 to 2018, Jamaica's rank in female economic participation and opportunity actually fell from 7 to 29. Women continue to earn less than men, and the ratio of female to male unemployed adults is 1.81. Furthermore, only 63.6% of women participate in the labor force compared to over 80% of men. Although the number of women in managerial positions in Jamaica has reached 59% in recent years, only 33% of top executives are women, and 38% of businesses are women owned. That's really incredible information, right? Well, in today's topic, Women in Business, we'll explore a number of areas, including the challenges that women in business face, the high points and the lows, and useful tips on how to build up, manage, and maintain a successful business. We're therefore happy you've taken the time to share with us this afternoon, so together we can learn more about how to be successful businesswomen. So make sure that you take the opportunity to ask as many questions as possible. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat and we will answer them before the session ends. But of course, what would a Quartz Ready Cash webinar be without a giveaway? Yes, that's exciting news. One lucky person will be the winner of a $50,000 Quartz shopping voucher, but you have to stick around to the end to know who that lucky person will be. And that's not all. Yet another one of you will win a free business consultation. So stay tuned. It could be you. So, Michelle, it is time for us to really dig into this conversation. And like we said, there is a whole lot of things to talk about. You have quite the journey there with Honey Bun. And
Yes.
I want you to really just start there. Tell me how you started with your business.
Well, like a lot of women, I was doing my thing in terms of I was teaching at the time, and my husband bought Honey Bun as a business, as a going concern, and he invited me to come and work in the business. So I did, and as it worked out, I managed the business while he was doing other businesses.
Ah.
So it became my full-time baby until I had four other babies. And I put that
Real
in.
baby
Real
babies,
baby
children.
babies, children. Yes. So he was doing investing in real estate. So
Ah.
I delved into the business and I stayed there since.
And you've become known for it since then.
Yes, the
You've
CEO,
become.
yes. Uh-huh.
So earlier, when I was giving the preamble, I gave some statistics about women in business, and particularly women in business in Jamaica. And the research shows that there's little to no gap between women's and men's access to education. So we all have fairly
Yes.
equal access to education. That's through primary school, secondary school, tertiary level. We have the access. In tertiary level, women actually exceed the number of
Right.
men in tertiary education in Jamaica, but it doesn't seem to guarantee equal employment or leadership opportunities for women. Why do you think that is?
Well, you know, women have the children to look after, so at some point you're going to have to choose between working and the children, and I think that's a major thing. And I think there are other things, and I'm sure it will come up during the course of this interview. I won't mention it at this point, but there are other issues as
So,
well.
how did you deal with it? Because you did mention that you had the
Yeah.
business full time running it, and then
Right.
you had these four beautiful children. How
Yeah.
did you manage that balance?
It was tough, that's what I can tell you. I can remember four children, four different schools, four different pickups, four different sports. And I remember one day I was walking in Sovereign Plaza and I saw a young boy from Campion in his uniform in the plaza. And I said to him, what did you do? You went early to school before they opened for registration? Or he said, no, our school started last week. And I was like, oh my goodness. So you do step on your feet a lot of the times, a lot of the times.
So your children had extra holiday.
Yeah, they got an extra holiday that year. I've since become extremely organized, especially with four children. So maybe that's part of the skills I developed personally, to be able to coordinate. And I know that's a very important business skill, to be able to schedule and coordinate. So I was learning while I was going along as well.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
me, everything goes on my calendar.
Yeah.
But fortunately, it can go on your phone now. So we
Yes,
have all these
yes.
tools
In
and it's
those days,
color
we
coded.
didn't have Outlook and all of those nice tools.
Yeah.
So we had printed calendars that we had to update.
Yeah, everything goes in yellow for the
Yes.
kids. As
Okay.
soon as I get a letter from the school, it goes
Yes.
directly on the calendar.
But you know, a lot of women do that, but not necessarily men. Have that skill of organizing.
Interesting.
Yeah, I find that with my workers, the men are not as organized as the women.
Well, I always send a calendar invite to my husband whenever one of the kids' events. Does he check it?
Yes.
I don't know, but I send it to him. He can't say that I didn't send it to
Yes,
him.
yes.
But speaking of the education part, what advice would you give to women who are educated and they want to get into business, but the statistics seem like they're stacked against them?
Well, certainly one of it would be that they have to persist and they have to develop the interviewing skills to be able to be considered. And it's not impossible. They do so many wonderful things. You have to be able to develop the interview skills. And the other thing is that it's a lot harder for women to network. And that's something that men do really well. You know, they network and they get to know each other so that when they want to move in a certain direction, they know somebody and they make the connection. Us women are more tied to the home and to the children. And so we're not networking nearly enough. So I think as women, we can find other ways to network, but we just have to be mindful of it and do it. So we got to know people. We have to be able to figure out, you know, when I want this, I have to do that. I have to get to know this person and that person.
Right. The men have their old boys
Oh my
associations.
goodness, they do.
But the women have old girls association. It's not the same.
We don't participate as much. We don't hang around and drink. We go home and it's over.
Yeah, and go take care of the kids.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
same thing.
Or leave the helper.
Yeah, I know it really can be quite challenging. But
It is.
going back to the same education topic, did your education give you any advantage in business, would you say?
Well, you know, a lot of the times people actually get educated in a field that they don't work in. But it's still education and you do learn skills from it.
True.
So I learned psychology and that was what I studied in school because I love the education system and I
Interesting.
wanted to support children and develop them. So since then my husband said, "Oh yeah, but you only use it on me." That's not true. That's not true. I also
Can use it on your customers now.
I use it on my workers. So
Ah.
it's very helpful. So you have to find a way to apply. So when I had to go into business, I was in teaching and I was like, oh my gosh, I always wanted to be a teacher. But the fact is that I became a teacher for my employees. So it's just how you change your mindset and your perspective. And this is something that we need to do. We can't just sit and complain about what's not happening for us. Change your mindset and let it fit into what you want it to, where you want it to fit. Don't complain. Just figure out how can I use that to my advantage? How can I create an opportunity out of what is happening? It wasn't ideally what I wanted, but how do I create an opportunity out of it?
That's really, really great
That's
advice.
important.
A lot of women feel, not just women, people feel like, oh, I don't have a degree in business, so I can't
Yes.
start a business. You have a degree in psychology, and you've
Yes.
been running a successful
Yes.
business for decades. Look at that. So, if I have an idea, if there's a woman out there who wants to start a business, what are the steps to do so?
Well, you know, one of the things that I find that is very unfortunate with people who start new businesses, and the foundation will really have to do a lot more in terms of startups. We're talented as Jamaicans, and that's why we think we can run a good business. That's not so. If you're talented, then you're good at something very specific. But that doesn't mean you're good at doing business. So we have to get some business skills. So when I went into business, one of the first things I did was I visited my father's accountant and found out how to do the payroll, how to manage the books. I mean, I never learned that in psychology. So you have to get some business skills. So the Honeybun Foundation, which is the honeybunfoundation.com, has courses designed by different organizations to give you some business skills. So that's your go-to business skills. It's not developed by the foundation. We have different companies who put these courses on the calendar. It tells you when they're going to be, and it tells you who is providing them, the cost, what the description of the courses are, and you can set up your school schedule for the year. So you can say, I'm going to do this at this time, I'm going to do this in May, I'm going to do that in November. You have to educate yourself on business. And right now it's so easy because if you go to YouTube, you can learn almost anything. So you're at such an you have such an advantage to be able to educate yourself to be able to manage business, because you cannot manage the business if you don't have some business skills. End of story. You must have some business skills. You find that in your own business, Kalila?
I tend to do and then try to learn afterwards.
Oh, well, we all learn
Or
differently,
you learn by
right?
doing.
Yes, so you learn by doing, or you learn. Everybody learns differently.
Right.
But I know LinkedIn has some great courses. The Honeybun Foundation has a lot of companies, Stock Exchange, Cube, I Create, marketing courses that you can look up and register for those courses. You must pursue education in business if you're a startup company. And even if you're not, I've met many who are not startups, but they could do with some of those brush-up courses. That's important. So educate yourself.
Yeah. So, but step one, you need to register the business.
Yes, well, yes, some people go ahead and don't, but you know, they will eventually
You
learn
should.
that there are advantages to being registered, and you know, becoming a part of the formal economy is very important, particularly for Jamaica, but also a lot of advantages for you when you're ready to grow the business, because then you have access to finance, you have records, you have what it takes, you have reports, you know, so doing something casually will keep you small. So if you want to remain micro and small, you know, but you have to be able to grow the business, because if you don't, then there's competition. You never stay at one level.
Right.
You're either growing or you're shrinking. Let's grow. Let's
Right.
decide to grow.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So yes, formalizing your business gives you access to banking.
Yes.
And once you have access to banking, then that opens up the whole thing in terms of credit, being able to get a loan for the business.
Yes.
Can't get that if you're not formal.
Right.
It's impossible to get. So, 40 years.
Yes.
Michelle.
40 years this year.
40 years in business with Honeybun. What was that? So that would have been, we're in 2022 now, that's the early 80s.
1982.
1982. Wow. That was a very different time from today.
So different. So different. And things are changing even faster now. The more things change, the more things change.
Walk us through some of the major highlights and pitfalls of being in business for 40 years.
Pitfalls, I think, was also with me. I was not trained in business. I was good in math, so that helped a lot with the accounts. But they didn't have the required business training. So it took me longer to wrap my head around certain processes in the business. But you know, you learn a lot from falling down, brushing up, picking up. Never give up, never gave up. So I was always aiming to keep on going. I remember, in fact, sometime in the 90s when we had that significant devaluation, it was like, you know, it was just so difficult. The price of things were going up, maybe much like today. And we decided we're not going to sell the business. We're going to make the business better so it can sell for more. And we never looked back, because it got so much better after we decided to make the business better that we wanted to keep it.
So how did you deal with that? This dramatic increase in prices, the dollar is devaluing, you have a business to run, employees to pay.
We grew the business, and some people would say, what, you borrowed money and grew the business? We grew the business. So instead of being a retail bakery, that's when we became a wholesale business. And that was when I titled ourselves, well, I coined the term C2O, which is challenges to opportunity. We had the challenge, and we turned it into an opportunity. So we went into wholesale and exports.
So you actually borrowed during the FinSac era?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we did.
Were you ever afraid?
All the time. You know, there was fear, especially when you had to make the payments.
The loan payments.
The loan payments, that was always scary, because in the time, no matter what it was, it looked like a huge amount of money. But it keeps you on your toes. So I remember the years when my children started to grow up and I needed to send them to university. And this is something that I always like to share with people. You needed to find university fees. So you had to find another way to grow the business again. So tough times make you really strong and creative. So that's what I encourage people to do. When things get tough, get creative. Nowadays,
It's tough.
Tough, get creative. You have to get creative. What else can we do?
Right, because we are still in a pandemic. We have this whole global situation going on with inflation and talks of a U.S. recession. But there are still businesses that are growing even during this
Yes, there
time, so it's
are.
not impossible.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, some of your many awards and accomplishments include, let me read them off my
Oh
paper
my
here.
gosh.
Most influential and powerful businesswoman and top chief executive officer in the Caribbean. Wow. That was from Business Suite Online, and then you also had from the Jamaica Gleaner, Woman of Distinction for your contribution in business. What would you say has been your biggest accomplishment to date?
I think that it has been just being able to get on the stock exchange. I mean, it wasn't,
What year was that when
that
you were
was
listed?
2012.
So 10 years you've been
Yes,
listed.
yes, on the stock exchange. So that was a big thing for us because here we were, a small family business, and that's also a major accomplishment. Just to be able to manage a family business is an accomplishment. And it's been a journey. But it was a big accomplishment. But I think also just to be able to see my children succeeding in the business, I would consider that a significant accomplishment as well. Because many businesses may not survive the second or the third generation. But I believe that having gone public, it has caused us to have significant corporate governance, something I'm well known for talking about, so that you have good governance or you run your business well so that you can survive hardships. And, you know, I said in a recent talk I did that when you have good corporate governance, it's like having 2 feet and you put one on the ground solid. Maybe your left foot, maybe your right foot. I like to think of my left foot on the ground. It means you're doing all the right things in the business. You're having your board of directors or your advisors. You're doing the right things. You're paying your taxes. You're running the business upright. Then you can use the other foot to pivot. So you're not planting 2 feet in the ground, you're planting 1 foot solid in the ground, and the other one is moving you in the direction to manage change and to be able to do different things. So you got to plant that foot in the ground with corporate governance.
So, what constitutes good corporate governance?
So corporate governance has to be about managing the business in an ethical way. So you're not just doing things under the table, shabby, not good enough. High standards. You have good discipline. Governance is about good discipline. Am I doing these reports monthly or do I need to do them quarterly? So it's just the same as bringing up children. It's how are your children governed? What are your rules? Do you have bedtimes all over the place? Do you have, you know, they can go to, well, I won't say school, but extracurricular activity? You know, what is their routine like? So it's the same thing in a business. It's governance. It's how you rule the business. It's the same thing as how you rule your children in the family. So governance is about doing the right things in an ethical way.
Yes, really, really important. So we're going to ask you to keep the questions coming in the chat. We are going to be having a special question and answer segment coming up where we're going to be addressing all of those important questions. I know that you have a lot. You have some burning ones that you want to ask Michelle. Keep those questions coming in the chat. We're going to answer as many of those questions as possible. So, Michelle, we've been talking a lot about your journey. I want to know, what do you think prepared you the most for success?
I want to say that while I was going to school, I was once called the classroom policeman, which I didn't like, which I really didn't like. But I was at that time, I think, doing the right things, just sticking to the rules. And even sometimes now I said, boy, I wish I had a little more fun with the girls who were like kind of just having some fun. But I think that prepared me because that made corporate governance easy for me. So I think that's what prepared me the most. I mean, yeah, so when we went on the stock exchange, it was our auditor who said to us, Michelle, you're already doing all the right things in your business. So why not take advantage of the junior market stock exchange? So whenever we look to do something in the business, we look at the international best practice. We don't just say, you know, what is Jamaica doing? Well, let's do that too. We don't copy. I mean, if Jamaica is doing the best in something, then we can copy that. So when we started to look at our food safety program, it was about what are the international standards for food safety. And that was when we determined that we wanted to become HACCP certified, which is an international food safety certification. So always look out for high standards and don't let down your standards.
Don't let down your standards.
No.
I always remember a teacher of mine, an English teacher in sixth form, used to say, mediocrity is nothing to strive for.
That's right. Nothing.
She always demanded excellence, yes? All right, so we have our first question. And all right, let me wait a little bit until later on to take some more of your questions, but I do encourage you to send your questions and we will get to them with our special guest, Michelle. So we've been talking a lot about family. Your children who are now grown are now well part of the company.
Two of them in particular work in the business now.
Two of them work in the what are their roles?
One manages the operations. That's Danielle Chong. He studied engineering and he's a chief operating officer. And I was lucky. The other one managed sales and distribution and he studied business. So they have different interests. When my daughter was in the business, she did marketing. So I've always had a mixed skill. Nobody competed with each other. So that's what they do. The two in the business now, operations and sales and distribution.
But you're their boss.
Yes.
And their mom.
Yes.
So how does that dynamic work?
Oh, that's an interesting question. How does that work? I remember I had an interviewer come to Honeybun and ask me, we were being studied for some program they were doing. And at the end of it, he said to me, do you have a family council? And I was like, what's that? So he made me know that it was where the family in the business made rules for the family in the business. So we would get together and have meetings and we would say, okay, what are the rules in the family, in the business, family and business? So we would document some of the rules and some of them would be like, you know, your pay would be appropriate to what is in the market, the salary in the market. So all the children don't say, oh, you know, how is it he gets that pay and I get this pay? So we made rules in the business. And even up to this year, we have been continuing with the family council, which is meetings to guide us in how to manage the business. And that was part of why we went on the stock exchange, because it's no longer mommy and daddy making up rules. It was about a board of directors who would say what should be done, who should succeed, and what's the best practice. It doesn't have to be a family member. You can hire someone outside of the business to do a particular job. It doesn't have to be a family member.
Is your husband still involved in the
Very
day-to-day
much.
as well?
He wasn't as much at first, but he's become extremely involved in the business, yes.
So that must be challenging, drawing that line.
You know,
how do
we've
yeah.
come to understand what he does and what I do. And at first it was a difference in the style in which we manage the business. It was very different. So we've come to merge our styles to be able to understand each other. So don't give up.
Who has the final say?
The CEO, of course.
Which is you.
Yes, but I mean, if it's something, an area that he specializes or he's stronger in than me, anything to do with the equipment and the vehicle, then he would be the one to have the final say on those things.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Fair enough. All right, so let me go to our questions. They're starting to come in. Our first question is, do you have any tips for women starting an online business? Is Instagram a good start?
So, our digital media for marketing is like, it is top of the ladder right now. That's what we have to be doing, and that's what's working. It's also very low cost. So as it relates to online businesses, it's not that much difference from other businesses. It's the same principles of business, the same bookkeeping, the same marketing, the same sales. It's just a business. And it's funny because at the foundation, we talk a lot about the creative industry. And it has a lot of the same principles. You have to just understand the principles of business to understand what you need to do in business. So it's not that much different. It's very specialized to you, just like I'm in manufacturing, so it's specialized to what I do, but it's the same principles. We still have our three financial reports: balance sheet, profit and loss, and cash flow. We still have marketing, we still do sales. So don't try to think it's much different. It's not.
So let me just add a couple of things here on running an online business, especially through social media like Instagram, right? One, turn on multi-factor authentication so that you're not ever locked out of your Instagram. You don't want to grow your Instagram account. You have a nice boutique selling clothes, you have 100,000 followers, and boom, somebody hacks your Instagram account and you lose your entire account, your 100,000 followers. You have no way to communicate with those followers slash customers. Make sure you turn on multi-factor authentication. And secondly, also use your Instagram and your social media to get customer information like emails. So develop your email list. That way you are able to communicate with your customers via email, and you own that email list. You don't own Instagram. If Instagram decides to kick you off their platform tomorrow, you no longer have a business. But if you use that platform to collect information like email and you develop your mailing list, you still have your business. You can still reach them. You're going to open up a new Instagram or a new Facebook. You can communicate with them and tell them where they can now meet you. So those are some of the differences
Yes.
to traditional
And you
business.
have to be mindful too of the new laws coming up as it relates to data protection laws, yes. So
Right,
read up
so-
about that.
Right, so people have to opt in to a mailing list. That is a very important point
Yeah.
as well. So you opt in to receive messages via email or text if that's the way that you choose to communicate. We have some more questions here. The next one is it's a similar question. This person wants to know, I want to start a clothing business. Should I rent a plaza store right away or stay online?
My personal advice, and it's not the only advice out there, would be to keep online. I think that you reduce the overhead cost tremendously and put most of your effort into marketing the products online. It's where the market is going. So people like to go out and try on clothes, yes, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a retail outlet, but I think if you do have a retail outlet, it needs to be coupled with online purchasing as well.
What about space issues? Like you have all this inventory, just keep it in your bedroom?
Well, any way you look at it, you're going to have to keep inventory, right? It's some people, a young man was telling me recently about a business where they don't even do the warehousing. You can order and then they get those people to send it to you. So, I was saying to him, there are lots of business modeling. What works for you and how can you be creative about it? This person was telling me that they they sell things online that they don't even stock. So when they want to
Drop
sell it,
shipping is what they call
yes, right. So think about the different ways in which you can cut back your overhead. Stock is not helping you, especially in clothing if it's not selling.
Interesting. Next question. I've had my business for 4 years now. Congratulations on 4 years in business. I'm registered, but I find it hard to grow, especially with the business mostly depending on me. Do you have any advice for me?
So the business can't depend on you alone if you want to grow the business. I remember I had a coach who said to me something very interesting. I wore every hat in the business and I was doing a lot of things and I was struggling. And when I got a coach, which is a great thing for business, by the way, some people use coaches who are friends of theirs, but it should be someone who knows business. And my coach said to me, Michelle, when you do the work for people, you rob them of the opportunity to grow. So I don't want to rob anybody. And then he made me make a list of the things that I'm going to stop doing. And I said, well, can I put them over a timeline? I can't stop everything. So I had, in 30 days, I'm going to stop doing these things. So it has worked for me. And people in business who want to grow their business cannot continue to do everything.
You have to hire.
You have to hire and you have to be prepared for people to make mistakes, small mistakes. So you have to be prepared to And this is where leadership skills are tremendously important for business owners. If you're in business now, the buzzword is leadership. You have to encourage people to bring out the best in them. You can't tell them everything to do, tell them how to do it. You have to find a way um, to influence their decisions. So you may know the answer, but don't just tell them. Ask questions. And I recently listened to a speaker that I listen to a lot, and it was like, in leadership, one of the characteristics is intelligence. And what that entails is more listening than speaking. More questions. You ask more questions than you give information. So leadership is a different thing nowadays. And if you can get training in leadership, that is critical for your business. And you need that in order to grow your business, or you're not going to grow. Leadership and empowering the people who work with you.
What if you don't have the money to hire somebody?
You know, that happens even to the biggest businesses. Sometimes I want a particular position, and again, requires creativity. So you have to find ways. When Honeybun was in the 90s, when we had the inflation and the difficulty and the challenges, we needed to hire a business consultant. I knew someone, and I said, come for lunch every week with us. So I catered a very nice lunch, whatever, people love food. So we would meet on a weekly basis. They would come over and we'd talk about the business. I wasn't paying her, but she enjoyed coming and helping us. And there are other ways. For example, you want to hire somebody who might be, their asking salary might be $400,000 a month. I've done this before. I've said, okay, can you work 2 days for us? And I'll pay you 200,000 a month. So you just have to be creative when you want to hire someone and you can't afford them.
That's great advice. So you can
Get
start
creative.
Because, yeah, I'm in the small business, fairly startup stage myself. And, how I've done it is I've started freelance first and then start to just take some tasks off my plate, hire a freelancer who just works on a task basis.
Yes.
You get compensated for the task. And then we started moving to part-time. So we moved that same freelancer into a part-time position where they cover a certain number of tasks for the month and they get paid monthly. And then as the business starts growing as well, again, then we move them to full-time. So it wasn't all at once.
Yes,
where
and you
it's so
get to
scary.
know what they're capable of doing.
Right.
Sometimes you hire a full-time person and they're working the 9 to 5, and they may not be a good fit.
True.
But when you hire them for projects, then this person has done this very well. They're very focused on achieving something very specific. So
Yeah.
it gives you that benefit.
Yeah, but like you said, to letting go can be so difficult because
Yes.
you feel like you're the only person who can do it right. You're the other person who can do this thing.
Making
But
mistakes is okay.
That's where training comes in. You
Yes.
have to train the people that you're going to bring on to do something to the standard that you expect them to do it. And it's hard and it's time consuming. And you're going to feel like you're doing the same work twice because they're going to do it and then you have to come back and correct it and it feels like you're doing it all over. But you have to put in that work so that they can get to that standard and eventually be able to grow into the job. All right, next question comes, well, I don't have a name. It says, do you have any advice for business owners who want to tap into the corporate market but are based in rural Jamaica?
In rural Jamaica, well, what's rural now? We're on internet, so,
Right.
So whatever you can do with a customer in Kingston, you can almost do it with a customer who is in the country. So I think we have a tremendous advantage nowadays because of that particular feature of the internet and getting it done. In everything it's about creativity. How am I going to do this? And I once did a seminar on creativity, and creativity is very interesting. The more you're pressured, the more creative you get. The less features you have, and your mind gets stretched. Look at during COVID. You know how many people were challenged and how they've used that challenge to really just bring out another way of doing things? So being rural or or being urban, it's really just about how you do things by being long distance.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the type of business you have too. Like
Yes.
how involved face to face do you need to be
Yes.
with the business.
Yes.
So I moved to Mandeville a few months ago, and everybody say, "Why are you moving to Mandeville? It's crazy. All the media is here in Kingston,
Yes.
but I'm able to do a great deal of my work from anywhere.
Yes.
So much of it can be done online, and I come into town a couple days a week when I need to, as opposed
Right.
to always being here.
Right.
A funny thing, cost of living is much cheaper
Uh-huh.
in rural Jamaica. If you're going to rent an office space, for example, much cheaper in the rural
Yes.
areas. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, next question says, I want to start a business, but I'm not sure how to reach my target market. How do I do this?
Well, first of all, you have to be very focused on who your target market is, and you have to write it down. You must have a description for who your target market is. You must probably say, this age group, this demographic, this. You have to be specific and write it down, because once you write down something, you can repeat it and achieve it. So once you have that documented, you have to be able to do some research. What's the size of that market? Who are your competitors? So once you start, and I call that data, once you start to have the data, you've documented your target market, and then you want to find out some facts about them. So you can hire a marketing company, or you can do some research online. I'm not sure research companies are good for that. And document it and develop a strategy. Okay, so this is where my target market lives. So if you are selling high-end cakes, then you have to know the stores where those people go. So follow your customers, know what they do, and just go where they are, where they're going to see your products.
But a lot of people are going to say, but my market is everybody. I want
Yeah,
everybody to have this product. I want
yeah,
everybody to eat honey bun.
yes.
How do you define that? How do you
Yeah,
figure out, okay, who
but you
do I
can't be a
really go
master of
after?
everything. You have to specialize. You have to know. It doesn't mean you won't capture more than your market. It just means that what you do will be specific to your best pool of people that you want to achieve sales revenue from.
So give
So,
me an example with honey bun then. So honey bun is a product, like you said, it's a household name. Everybody knows it. Everybody would want it
yeah.
by now. But if you are to say you're going to target who? Parents who are buying snacks for their kids? Who do you really go after as your target market?
Well, when we do our research, we find out where the larger part of our market is. And, we don't make products that are for the very low end of the market, because we put a lot of quality in our products, so it has to be a little more expensive. And so we target people who want a good quality product, who are prepared to pay a little bit more. Now, even in honey bun, we have different markets for different sectors. For example, we have the honey bun product. It's bread. One of our bigger sellers are shorty bread. So we have to target the mass market, and so we put out ads that target that market. However, one of the other products we make is a Buccaneer rum cake. That's a pocket cakes. So that has a different target market. That one is more tourist market, more upscale, people who are prepared to spend more on that particular product. So we don't have it everywhere. We have it in specific tourist stores or in high-end supermarkets. So you have to be to segment the market and develop the strategy to, when you have a market that buys bread, that's great, because then your market is very wide, because everybody eats
Everybody
bread.
eats bread, yeah.
But what we do is we have a small bread, or shorty bread is a small bread, so it's for more single or small households. Um, so we just have different strategies for different
Brilliant idea,
markets.
by the way.
Yes.
You live alone and that whole big bread just halfway gets stale
Yes.
before you can eat it. Yeah, necessary. So earlier you mentioned that Honey Bun has been listed on the stock exchange for 10 years. The next question says, how will being on the stock market help my business grow? And how do I know my business is ready to go on the stock market?
Well, I think that you know your business is ready to go on the stock exchange when you're running a good governance within your business. So if you have certain reports and you have the means to get those reports, and you are already having regular meetings with your team, then you're just almost there. It's just going to be harder because there are no excuses. Your reports have to be on time. You can't say, boy, you know, it's a week late. Nope, you got to have them on time. By a certain day of the month, you have to have those reports on time. People get used to it eventually. So you have to have the experience in your business, and you have to have your market. Um, I think the question had another part to it. How do you know you're ready?
Right.
And
How will it help my business grow?
yes, so easy question. It will help your business grow because instead of borrowing money that is going to burden the business to pay it back, you're getting almost free cash. Should I challenge this example? Okay. So if your business needed $1 million, you could borrow it from the bank if you have the ability to borrow it, because it's a very difficult process. You have to have the security. So you own the whole business. So if you make $1 million profit, you'll get $1 million. When you go public, you will probably triple your sales. So you might make $3 million. You no longer get the full $3 million, but if you have 50% of the business, you can earn $1.5 million. So you earn more. So you're getting a smaller piece of a bigger pie. Right? You don't own the whole thing, but you're also getting the capital. So you no longer have to pay expensive loan interest or the cash flow be burdened with loans. So you have a better cash flow, you're making more money for yourself. So that's how it will help your business to grow. And you look at the companies that have gone on the stock exchange, they've grown. All of them have grown. We're not burdened with loans. We're not burdened with interest. It's free money. You give up a part of the business, but you're going to grow your business.
Next question. Was it difficult to enter the export market?
Yes. It's difficult because your competition is so much more. There are so many requirements. There are trade barriers in different countries. You have the FDA, Food and Drug Administration in the US, and you have food standards that you have to meet. So yes, it's very difficult. But I cannot say that without saying that as Jamaicans, we must export, and we must export more. And a part of the Honeybun Foundation strategy is to get more companies exporting. We cannot grow as a country if we're not exporting. And I'm going to use this famous example. If you have 52 cards in a deck of cards, and we here are playing cards, we can share it out and we'll always get the same amount of cards. The only way, and we liken this now to a salary perhaps, to earn more is to have more cards in the deck. Where do we get them from? Export. We get them from bringing in more money so that as a country we have more cards in the deck. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes. It
But
makes a whole lot of sense.
don't think if we as Jamaicans just keep selling to each other, then we're never as a country going to be richer. Never. We're going to have the same things. And the next things we do as Jamaicans is we compete for local business. We need to stop this competition and stop trying to compete for the 52 cards in the deck. We need to work together and collaborate more so that if I get more sales than I can manage, I can call to you and say, you know, I have this order, but I to export. And many people just short the export, and then the customers will tell you that they have so many Jamaican companies who are sample companies. We can bring the sample, but we can't fulfill the order. Find another business that's going to help you to make the order so that you can export it. We have to export more.
Yes, and you earn that foreign exchange
You
as
earn
well.
that foreign exchange, And it's still, every time the dollar devalues, you're still looking at the fact that you're getting more for the product because it was worth 150. You don't have to wait to do a price increase. It's now worth 155. So export, export, export more.
All right. One last question. What's your advice to someone who wants to jump from a 9 to 5 into entrepreneurship?
I don't know. I think 95 it doesn't exist anymore. There's nobody who works for us.
Or just a regular job, you should say, from being
Oh,
employed
oh,
to
from being
an
employed?
entrepreneur.
Well, as I said, it's the same thing as going into business. You have to learn your business skills. I know so many people who have left jobs to go into business and they're not making it. They have to go back to a job because they just thought, oh, I'm good at this or I have a good idea. So they give up the 9 to 5, then they go into consulting, which is something a lot of Jamaicans do. I'm so good at it, I'm going to become a consultant. And they don't succeed because they don't have the business skills to draw the customers or to market the products. So think carefully when you do it. What I usually advise is you start something on the side. Keep your 9 to 5 and start something on the side. And I even encourage some of my workers. I have workers who work in the bakery and they're making clothes at home and selling. So I encourage them to do that, and you will find out or learn slowly. I've had staff who have left the business and they start their own business, and they've, with even the support, they couldn't do it, so they had to come back for the job.
Yeah.
Be careful. Don't lose what is sure for what is unsure.
That's
It's
great
hard.
advice. That's
Yeah.
great advice. Let me tell you how I did it. I did it like about a year and a half ago, October 2020. I left my full-time job to become a full-time entrepreneur, which is scary. But for me, I started as a side hustle 1st. So it started as a side job, and then eventually, it starts becoming more and more work. You're earning more and more income. And the point came when I realized I can sustain myself from this side hustle. When I knew that I could pay myself a salary sustainably every month
Right.
and cover all my major bills, plus a little extra, then I knew, okay, it's time. I'm comfortable in leaving the 9 to 5, which for me was a 5 to 1.
Okay.
I used to work 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. So I did
Okay.
have some time in the day to do that, some extra
Yes.
stuff. But yeah, the point for me was knowing that you have enough money to meet your daily expenses, your monthly expenses, and still have a little extra cushion.
Yeah.
And if you can save up some during that side hustle period as well, so that you have a cushion when you make that transition into the full time, that's going to give you a little bit more peace of mind and comfort.
Khalil, I want to just say just one more thing about women in business. And I'm a little bit different. I believe that as women in business, we need to recognize the men in our life. So many times when we talk about women, it's as though it's either women or men. It's not. We have to recognize the men in our lives and recognize the value that they provide even to our business. I know when we went into business, I had more management skills than my husband had. He had investment and he was a realtor and he was a networker. So I stayed within the 4 walls of my business running it. But when I needed anything, I could count on him to know somebody to get somewhere. So it's not women against men. It's working together with men. And we need to do that. We need to promote them and the skills that they have because we're going to need it. We can't do it alone. So that's my piece on women.
Trust me, that's a big point.
Yeah.
That's a big point.
I had to say it.
You have to shout out the network, which includes the men
Yes.
in your lives.
They have different skills, different strengths.
Sometimes your parents who provide that support, help out with the kids when you're starting out in the business.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for bigging up the men. When you talk about women in business, it's not just about women in business.
It's about the men.
It's
too.
about everybody. So
Yeah.
we have a lot of, well, not a lot of, we have our prizes.
Okay.
Right? So we have our prize winners, and I want to get to them. Time has flown by, right? The
Yes.
time has gone really, really, really fast. I'm surprised that it went so quickly. And it's been a very informative session, a very exciting session. I've learned so much, and I'm sure our participants have learned a whole lot as well. So let us give you those prizes because we're not quite finished yet. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. Dun, 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 dun. Drum roll, please. You want to hear if you are a lucky winner of the Quartz Ready Cash voucher. Who has won the $50,000 Quartz voucher? Let me see. Okay. Who's won it? Let me check my WhatsApp messages here. Congratulations to Ida Gonzalez. Ida Gonzalez is the winner of the person who stayed on the longest, and you have won. You have won the Quartz Ready Cash voucher. No? I see a message here for Ida Gonzalez. That's not the Ready Cash voucher? Sorry, not Ready Cash voucher. It's a Quartz voucher. It's a Quartz voucher. So you can come to Quartz and shop using that voucher. It's $50,000, and that is the prize. Did I get it right this time? All right, let me see. Okay. All right, so it's a different winner because Ida left.
Oh.
Ida left? Oh, that's what happened. See, Ida, you could have won, and you ended up leaving the conversation. See, don't you even? One
Yeah.
time in Michelle, I went to a basketball game. It was a big game in Belize, a playoff game, and during the break, during the halftime, they raffled off a gold chain, a thick gold chain, and all. Me decided to go to the bathroom during and they held up the chain and they called my name like 3, 4, 5 times and I was
Yes.
busy, went to the bathroom, walking around with my friend, didn't hear, came back to my seat and my cousin who was beside me said, Kalila, you win a chain. Like, what? You win a chain? They said, no, but they raffled it over because you weren't here to
Oh.
collect it. But poor Ida, that's what happened to you today. You would have won, but you left. So the next person who was on
She's
early.
saying that she's still here.
She's still there? She's still there. All right. Well, congratulations to Ida. Congratulations, Ida Gonzalez. You are the winner of the $50,000 cash voucher from Quartz. All right. Thank you so much. And you've been rewarded for sticking around to the end of our session. And a member of the team will contact you. So we want you to stay with us. Congratulations once again. You want to give her a round of applause?
Yay!
Woo! Yay! All right, so our next winner, we have one more winner. Our next winner wins a free business consultation, again, courtesy of Quartz Ready Cash. So who will that lucky winner be? Who is that person going to be? Free business consultation. Who is it? All right, let's see. Congratulations to, is it the last name on my list? Congratulations to Marvia Brown. Marvia Brown, you were selected because you were the first person to register for this webinar. Congratulations, Marvia. You have won a consultancy, a business consultancy, courtesy of Quartz Ready Cash. And a member of the team will contact you. So stick around, stay on, so that you can get that information, very important information. Final words, Michelle, to anybody watching?
Well, I just want to encourage those persons who are here to register on the honeybunfoundation.com to be able to get our information on courses, on happenings, and to see the products that we have developed, or training calendar, or advisory board, and our GAP app. Our GAP app is amazing. You download it and you do an evaluation or a diagnostic of your business to see what areas of your business can improve, because you don't know what you don't know. So let us be able to tell you.
Wonderful. All right. And remember, if you are a small or a micro business entrepreneur seeking support, reach out on the website, readyfinancecaribbean.com, or you can send a direct message to 876-562-8255. 1635 or 876, let me find that number again, 876 492 3192. All right, so the numbers again, 876 562 1635 or 876 492 3192. Send a message, WhatsApp, or call, and a member of the team will reach out to you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been our pleasure to be here with you this evening. Continue to stay safe and keep watching this space to see what our next exciting topic will be. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm Kalila Reynolds. I'll see you
Thank
next
you.
time.
Okay.